Hello folks, hope everybody is doing well. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a quick review of the Demeyere Industry Wok, and I thought it was just okay. I mean, it wasn't a terrible pan, but I was also not that excited about it. I'll post the video link down below. So just to recap, now that Industry Wok, it only came in one size, which is 30 centimeters. And I said in that video that if you want a wok from Demeyere, or if you want to look at a wok from Demeyere, you are much better off looking in the Apollo series, because in the Apollo series, the woks come in a variety of sizes and also shapes. So that's why today we are going to have a look at this 32 centimeter Apollo wok with a flat bottom. And as far as I can tell, this 32 centimeter model is the size that most people tend to buy. They come in anywhere between 26 to up to, I think, 36 or 38 centimeters, if I remember correctly. And straight away, I gotta say that I like this Apollo wok much better than the Industry Wok. So the Industry Wok from a couple of weeks ago, I said it felt a bit too lightweight and too thin. But this Apollo Wok has a very nice weighty feel to it. It also feels thicker than the Industry Wok, but we'll talk about that in a sec. So first of all, let's have a look at it. I picked this one up secondhand, as usual. It's got a few light scratches, but otherwise it's in very, very good condition. So as you can see, the top part of the wok, this part here is actually straight, and you don't see that on a lot of woks. It's got a helper handle. Now this handle is actually from the Demeyere Resto series, okay? It's exactly the same handle, they just stuck it on the wok. The Demeyere Resto series is a very entry-level Demeyere product. Okay, so they just stuck the same handle on this wok. And you've got the actual handle here. So this handle is made is hollow. As you can see, it's open on the end. So they just took this, I guess, this sheet of stainless steel, and they folded it into this shape of the handle. So here's a good close-up look at the wok, the helper handle, going around the wok, inside and the outside. So it's got a flat bottom design. Okay, so first we look at the build and specifications, then we'll talk about the price, then we'll do a cooking experiment with a whole cabbage and some onions, and we're going to talk about what we dislike about the pan, or what I dislike about the pan, and the conclusion. Okay, onto the build and the specifications. It's got a 7-layer construction, which is typical of the Apollo series, but I'm not sure how the 7 layers are arranged. The thickness, on the Demeyere website, it says it's 2.3 millimeters thick, but I gotta be honest, it feels thicker than 2.3 millimeters, as just from looking at the edge. Okay, but well, you know, that's okay. I'll trust the official claim. You know, feeling thicker than what it is always a good thing. You know, it is. You know, if I knock on the bottom, it's got quite a thick sounding sound to it. The weight is officially 1.7, but on my scale is registering around 1.8. 32 centimeters is the diameter for this model, but as usual with a lot of Demeyere pans, it's actually bigger than what it is on paper. As is the case with this piece, so the edge-to-edge diameter is actually around 33.5 centimeters. And the bottom diameter, the bottom flat diameter, is 14 centimeters, okay? So that's the diameter of the flat cooking surface. The height is 8.2, so the depth of this wok this way is 8.2, and the total length is 58 centimeters. Now the price. Official list price is quite high. It's 249 euros for this piece. But the good news is you can pick this up for around 170 euros, which is significantly less in most retailers. Yeah, and if you buy this piece online, well, at least here in the Netherlands, the price secondhand tends to be around the 75 euro mark, which well, at that price is a pretty good deal, especially if you can pick up one in a very good condition. So now let's move on to the cooking experiment, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so let's see how this wok performs on my electric flat top. We start off by gently sauteing the onions, so the onions needs to be, well, for this recipe anyway, the onions needs to be cooked separately first before I add the cabbage. And this part actually worked quite well. The onions, they cooked evenly. I was getting cooking not only on the bottom where the wok contacts the hob, but also up the sides of the wok as well. So overall it was very even cooking of the onions, and I was quite happy with that, at least for this first part. Now in goes the cabbage, and once again, just like I did with the Industry Wok, I deliberately overloaded the pan a little bit to see how it holds up. And well, I'm happy to say that this wok worked surprisingly well. The cabbage, it did suck away a lot of the heat from the pan, but the wok was able to heat up, and it was able to cook the cabbage, which initially took up a lot of volume. It was able to cook it down quite quickly, actually much faster than if I did it in a skillet, even though you know, the part of the wok that's in contact with the electric hob is actually a lot smaller than the skillet. So let's have a look at, then let's jump to the end and have a look at what it looks like. And here you see that the cabbage has cooked down nicely. It didn't take too long. So actually I was very happy with this wok, even on an electric flat top. Now let's move on to the next part of the video. Okay, back to the video. What do I dislike, or what might you dislike about this pan? So there are, as much as I like this piece, there are a few little things. And the first thing is that you may find the bottom diameter a little bit small. You know, the Demeyere Industry Wok I reviewed a couple of weeks ago had a bottom diameter of around 16 centimeters, I think. So so that's actually one good thing. So you may find the bottom diameter a bit small on this piece. And second thing is the handle. Because it's hollow, food and scraps or water can get into this. See if I can put my finger in it. Can get into the handle all the way down to the end here, and once, you know, stuff goes in, it's almost impossible to get it out. So it's a bit of a shame they didn't close this off. Another thing is that some people might find this wok slightly shallow, so it's not the deepest wok at only 8.2 centimeters in depth. And the last thing that you may dislike about this wok, or for me at least, is the price. Even though you can pick this up for around 170 euros, like I mentioned, which is significantly below the list price, I still feel that is quite high for a wok. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little more in the conclusion. So it's definitely not a cheap wok. Okay, so on to the final conclusion. You know, even though I mentioned that there are a few things in the dislike section, I still really like this wok, and I think it is a much better product than the Industry Wok that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. So the question is, would I recommend this wok? The answer is yes, I would recommend this wok. But I do have to mention, because I think the price is quite steep for this piece, before you rush out to buy one, I would also encourage you to look at some alternatives. Now, the choices of woks in Europe is not actually that much, but if you're in the US or North America, for example, you may have a lot more choices of woks. So definitely have a look at, you know, what are the alternative brands that you might be able to pick up for much lower prices. Now, if you got a gas stove, you could obviously also consider a carbon steel wok, which tends to be much more economically priced than a good stainless steel wok. So that's another option that you could consider as well. But on an electric flat top, I would tend to stay away from carbon steel woks because first of all, it's more likely to warp, and secondly, the heat distribution on carbon steel or cast iron is not going to be as good as on the on a stainless steel wok. And you know, for considering that if you're going to use it on an electric flat top, it is quite important, you know, to have a pan that distributes heat as well as it can. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this quick look, and I will see you in the next one.